is the McBride Rewind, the show that takes you down memory lane with your host, Josh McBride.
Welcome to the McBride Rewind. Today we're sitting down with a legend in music from the era we all love. From iconic songs to movies, he has done it all. Ja Rule, welcome to the McBride Rewind.
Oh, the McBride Rewind.
You and I have been friends, but really like family, I feel like, because your family has taken me in for many years, your mom and your mother-in-law. So that's why I wanted you to be one of the first people on this show.
Nah, for sure. You know, for everybody who, just that don't know, Josh and my daughter became really, really good friends. My daughter's 30 years old, just for I'm old. And they became really good friends, and that's how me and Josh became really good friends. And Josh is he's family now. So
yeah, your family. I don't know if people know that about you, and this isn't even a question, but you're such a family person.
I am.
That's your priority. In snowstorms, you say, "Let's get the hell out of here," and you take everybody.
Let's go. Let's get. Hey, we travel first class to beat the forecast.
Yeah, it was genius. It was genius.
Yeah.
For you, and I call you Jeff, but I'll call you Ja for this.
Yeah.
When did you sort of first know that, like, oh shit, I'm famous. People know me. Like, people know me. People recognize me on the street. When was that moment for you? Let's take it back for a second. This is called the McBride Rewind. Let's take it back and when did you first know that you were famous and that things would sort of change?
It happened really, really like fast, like overnight. I've been making records for a while. I was in my group Cash Money Click, and we were trying to do our thing for quite some time. We was with TVT Records. Shout out to Steve Gottlieb, my brother Irv Gotti, rest in peace. But that didn't work out the way we planned. And so I ended up going solo. And I ended up, on Def Jam. And that whole thing kind of just happens really, really quickly. Like, went from struggling artist, hoping to make it big, to did the Can I Get a Record with Jay-Z. It was on the Rush Hour soundtrack. Huge movie, huge album for Jay. And it was on both of those. It was on the soundtrack and on Jay's album, Hard Knock Life album, which was amazing. And so it was like, okay, one day I was like this, nobody rapper trying to make it. And then all of that happened. And like the next week, I come outside and it was like I couldn't go to the mall. So it was like, it was really weird.
Was there somebody that was
that quick
in the industry that had given you all this advice, whether it had been good or bad advice in those times, that you were like, oh, that really meant something to me back then when you first started?
I mean, not really. Like I said, things kind of happened really, really fast at that moment, and then it started, happening. I started making records, and the hits started coming. And I remember one time, Leo Cohen pulled me to the side, and he asked me a question similar to what you asked me. He basically just said, Ja, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said something to the effect of like, Ja, have you gotten a chance to really stop and take in and just kind of feel and everything that's going on, have you? And I was like, not really. It's just everything just kind of happened. I'm kind of moving, and I was making albums back to back, like album in '99, album in 2000, album in 2000. I made two albums in the span of 12 months, not in the same year, but in the span of a year. You know what I mean?
You don't know that's
right.
Big feat. People don't do that.
People don't do that, and so I was just really cranking it out, really, really, really fast. I was just so happy to be, in the studio and being able to create at that pace and being able to put out music freely. I didn't want to stop. I just wanted to do it and put it out and get it out there. So I was making albums every year while shooting a movie every year in that time frame. I shot Fast and Furious in 2000, and I went and shot Half Past Dead the next year when I shot the next album. And it just kind of kept spiraling like that, and it was an exciting time.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that real quick. when you first, we got to go back for a second. When you first appeared on, let's say, the hottest show at the time, which was TRL, right? When I got to take it back. This is called the McBride Rewind. Yeah. The hottest show at the time was TRL, right? Yeah. And you got to look out over Times Square, and there's people screaming, and they've got signs and things like that. And I just saw some photos. Taking back to that moment, is that also a moment for you when you really like knew that, like, oh shit, like, I'm somebody? Because that was what, 1999-ish?
Yeah, it's still, things not registering like that. It's like I said, it's kind of happening really fast. All of these things were things that I, prayed for and wished for and hoped for. Being on TRL, being on Def Jam. I was on, like I said, I was on a small label. I was on TBT Records. Being on Def Jam, for a rapper back in them days was like being on Motown Records. Back in the days, you were on like the label of hip hop. For the East Coast anyway, and it just was a crazy time. And then so TRL, it just didn't. Everything just it felt so surreal. Like this is really happening. It didn't even feel real to us at the moment. It just felt like this is, wow, this is really happening. And prior to that, you gotta think about it. Like, I really believed that this was gonna happen, but nobody else did, Josh. Like, it's like you're talking to a ghost.
Well, the people around you though must have believed, because they got you. Like, they helped get you there, right? Like, nobody, the record labels did.
Josh,
management.
You got to understand this as much as anybody. Like, nobody believes it until it happens.
Yeah.
And then everybody's like, I always knew. I told everybody. But that's not reality.
Right.
Reality is, becoming successful or striving for success is a very lonely place. It's a very dark place. That's why I tell people in order to achieve this feat, you have to be very selfish. And you can only focus on what's in front of you and have tunnel vision to get to that. And I tell people that all the time, because a lot of people don't have what it takes to be successful. And I don't say that in a bad way. I say that to say that some people are, a lot kinder and very giving of themselves and their time and their money and all of these things. I just wasn't at the time. I didn't care. I was focused on what I wanted in life and my goals, and none of those other things mattered. Family wasn't that important to me at the time.
But your wife?
My wife was there, but even in those times, my wife was very much in my corner.
Yes.
But I used to let Ish know too, like, babe, I got tunnel vision, and anybody that's not in this car that's riding through the fire right now, through the snowstorms, through the whatever, may have to get out and let me ride by myself. And so everybody kind of understood the level of focus that I had. Even my mom, everybody just knew. And even to this day, like, when people see me lock in on things, they're like, all right, just get out of his way and let him work. Because they understand, like, this is all I'm focused on. And, I understand that the job at hand, you have to be very selfish with your time and energy to make things.
You've had such an amazing support system, though, and just knowing your family for many years now. Yeah. They've all been your mom, your wife, all your kids, your mother-in-law. Like, I feel like they're all so supportive of.
And I hate that, for them too, Josh. In the moments when I'm locked in like that, because they get it, they understand it, but it is a moment where I'm not so locked in, so dialed into family things. It is weird because you know me such as a family guy, but you never seen me lock in for work and lock in to.
I have. I've been to enough shows of yours. I was just seeing you in LA, and we were in the green room, and I knew not to bother you. Yeah. We were in the green room, and Lizzo came in. This was after you performed, but right before you came in, it was sort of stay out of his way, because you do lock in. You got changed, and you didn't even. I don't even think you said anything to anybody in that moment. And your family.
I like to get in my own head and in my own space. That's it.
Let's talk about, you touched on it a bit. How did the collaborations come up? Did people say, I want to work with you? Did you pitch them? I mean, you've worked with, when you first especially when you first came out, it was Jay and Ashanti. You just performed with J-Lo again at New Year's. But, you know, how did those come up initially?
You know, that's a good question. I don't think nobody's ever asked me that. But I've never initiated, hey, I got a record for you. Like, it just doesn't work that way. You know, I made amazing records, and I had a sound that was specific to me, and Irv had a sound of beat making that was specific to him, and people wanted that sound, and so people would call us and say, "Hey, you think you could give us one of those Ja Rule records?"
Yeah.
And that was actually how they labeled it, how they said it. Labels were signing artists at that time, based on if they could make Ja Rule records or not. You can ask certain artists; they'll tell you that's absolutely true. Because you got to understand, it was specific to me and what we were doing at that time. There's nobody else doing it the way we were doing it. And then it became a thing, don't get me wrong. But at the time, for people to get that sound, they had to call me.
Yeah.
And they did. And
what's crazy is they still call you to perform with them, right? Like
absolutely.
You just did New Year, like you still perform, like you're still very actively performing anyways. A lot of people, some artists haven't really been continuing on that path of like staying.
And I love that. I love the collaborations. I'm grateful.
But you can tell you still enjoy it, right?
You
can tell.
I'm an artist. I love performing. I love making music. I'm a creative first and foremost. I love, creating whatever it may be, whiskey, film and television projects, whatever it may be. I enjoy creating things from an idea, to reality.
Yeah.
That sets me, it sets me off. I really enjoy doing that.
You could tell. But let's talk about Amber and Opal because this has been out for more than a year.
About a year now. We've been doing it.
You've done wine before this.
My wine did very well. My rose wine.
Yep. And now let's talk about how Amber and Opal came to be because everybody loves it that tries it. I've watched Lizzo try it for the first time with you.
Yeah.
And
we got to create Lizzo's drink, the motherfucking Lizzo.
That's it.
Big shout to Lizzo.
Why this? Why whiskey? And why Amber and Opal?
Whiskey's the new wave. People are very whiskey curious. That's not how we got into it. Like I said, I'm an investor and I invest in a lot of different companies. And during COVID, we were doing a lot of cool investment stuff, me and my investment group. And a whiskey Dow came across our table. And if nobody knows what a Dow is, it's a decentralized, autonomous organization. So you kind of get a group of people together and, everybody has voting rights and, everybody has a say-so in kind of how the things roll out and how the business plan is, reciprocated through different channels and everything it sounds amazing until you have to have 10 people vote on fucking what's going to be the label or what's going to be, then it's like, Jesus Christ. We need a board.
Right.
So, that came across our desk. It was a whiskey Dow. And what it was, we were going to buy which we did. We bought a warehouse full of whiskey in Iowa. And it was just a flip move. We were going to buy this whiskey and wait till it got to a 7-year aging process and sell it at a premium. And when we got to our 7-year aging process, we decided to start a business. But we didn't use those barrels, so we found out that those barrels, weren't what we thought they were. And it's whiskey, don't get me wrong, but it's not the best whiskey. And so we ventured off and we went to a distillery in Baltimore. Herb's from Baltimore. It's not from Baltimore. He lives in Baltimore now. I like to tease him and say he's from Baltimore.
Shout out to Herb.
Yeah, big shout out to Herbie. But he went to a distillery that's not too far from him in Baltimore, and we ended up buying these 2-year-old rye whiskey barrels, which we created this blend with. So it's been a hell of an adventure, a hell of a journey, just learning the whiskey business, learning about the spirits business and how things kind of move and shake. It's been a lot of fun. We've been very successful so far. And so, I really like the way we're growing as a company. We're taking our time, owning each market. We're in, New York and California and Jersey and Baltimore and Virginia, So we're moving. We're moving in the right direction.
One thing I love about you is you stay trying, right? I think that's so important for people that are watching, that you got to try and you're going to fail with that, right? And I think that's all of us, whether you're creative or not.
People need to go and do research and learn about people who are uberly successful and learn about some of their failures. Warren Buffett says something very, very interesting. He said he won't even look at a business or a company or the owners of the company unless they failed twice already. He said, because now they know what not to do. Now they understand how to move a business, how to scale a business, and not, make the mistakes that they've made in the past. It makes sense. Trial and error is how we learn everything. When you first learn to walk, you fall down a lot. Trial and error, man, before you actually get up and walk around and, and before you know it, you can run and you can jump. It's trial and error. I lifted my 3 kids up to a table to try to get them to walk many a day, and they fell right back down. Until that day they did.
Right.
That's what life is kind of about. It's the same. You live through ups, you live through downs, you live through trial and error. And it's not about the wins or the losses. It's about the character of the person. And how you treat people when nobody's watching. Those are the things to me that count. When I was locked up, I used to study. I'm a people watcher. I'll just sit there and be quiet and watch people's character and study people. And I learn a lot from just watching, how they move and how they turn. People do things and they slip up and not knowing that's a scar in their character. They do it all the time. People tell little white lies that they think mean nothing. But if you tell that lie, imagine if $1 million was on the line. You definitely lie. But people don't understand that. They think the bigger the thing, the more they should be trusted because it's something that, is so valuable or so big that why would I want to rob or steal? Why would I want to do anything, to hurt this? It's because your character. You may not want to, but your character forces you to do it because that's who you are.
Yeah.
I say it all the time, let people be who they are. They'll show you. And when a person shows you who they are, believe them. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Recently, there was a story that went huge viral that, Ja Rule was jumped at the end of between a concert. And so I texted your daughter and I texted your wife. Yeah. And I was like, is everybody...
You texted me too.
You also?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
You suck at texting.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm not the best.
So is that annoying when stuff like that happens? Because that really didn't happen.
I mean, yes, it did. Somebody tried to get at me. Dudes tried to get at me, but it was a failed attempt, a very bad attempt at trying to jump somebody. So it was funny, but things get taken out of context all the time in the media because people are so starving for the story. They want to be the first to post about something and whatever the case may be. So I just, like I said, I cleared it up. It is what it is, but people love the lie more than they love the truth.
The lie
is more
story.
fun.
It's a better story.
And so people do that. But I'm just, like I said, since 2026 came in, that's kind of been like my New Year's resolution that I haven't said to anybody other than myself, and just personalized it. Ja, you're about to be 50 years old, man. I know how I look at other people going back and forth on the internet, and I take a look back and I'm like, this is bad for our culture, for our people. Like, I only see black artists doing that shit. I don't really see white artists arguing with each other back and forth. I don't see, country artists trolling each other. I don't see that. It kind of makes me feel sad when I look at it like that. Like, come on, we better than this, man. But I got to stay out of it all. I got to stay out of the room because, I did the podcast with Carmelo Anthony's podcast, and I spoke just my honest opinion on beefs. How I feel of what hip hop beef is to our industry and our culture, and I just don't feel it's great for our culture. And, I got all kind of, he's just saying that because he was the loser. He lost.
But nothing actually happened. Nothing happened.
Listen, people could say whatever they want, who lost, who won. I don't care about that. I was just giving my opinion on how I feel, how they affect the hip-hop culture. That was just my opinion on it. I don't think it's amazing for the hip-hop culture. It's great in the interim, and the guy that's deemed the winner gets to do some, where they get some extra love
for a social post. Yeah, like what?
Yeah,
for
whatever.
What?
But it's no harm, no foul on the other guy. Like if I'm the quote unquote loser, I would take my losses, that loss all day. I'm fucking great in life. I'm doing great in life. So. And whatever other losers you want to put, Jay-Z lost to Nas. He's doing great in life.
I think he's okay, yeah.
Drake lost to fucking Kendrick.
He's okay.
He's doing great in life. So I'm like, all right, what did we lose? What did the losers really lose?
Yeah.
What did the winners really gain?
Was your family there? I don't think they were, right?
Where?
That night.
Where?
That night where the night that you had got allegedly jumped and then you had clear up. Was your family there? Was Ish there?
Yeah, they were at the concert.
Okay.
They were in the crowd at the concert.
Got it.
Enjoying the concert.
Okay.
But I laugh at that shit. I chalk it up as listen, man, this is the business of hip hop. This is the game we in. And I've probably done some things that karma comes back sometimes, man. You know what I'm saying? So I've probably done some stuff that I've gotten away with that whatever.
But I feel like that's so past you. That's so beneath you at this point.
That's what I just said, Josh. I wouldn't even talk about this if it wasn't you, Josh. Like, I'm not allowing anybody to even ask me these questions anymore. So this will be the last time I speak about any of this shit ever. Like ever.
2026.
No, ever.
Yeah,
Josh. I'm dead serious.
I'm saying new you from here on
ever.
out.
It's not even new me. It's just beneath me.
Yeah.
That's all. It's just shit is beneath me.
Let's talk about stuff in the future then. You mentioned Fast and Furious. Do you think you'll wind up going back to acting? I know you've got the whole studio being built. You're working on Icon, which is your app.
Yeah, it's also my network.
Will you go back to acting? Scripted?
I got some stuff in the works that I'm working on right now. Scripted show, television show.
That you're producing or starring in, or both?
Both.
Great.
Amazing show.
Do you miss that part? Because you haven't really done a lot of that.
I do. I miss, I miss creating in that space. Because for me, like I said, it's all about creativity. It's all about being creative. And with music, I get to do that. I get to create, the stories that you hear over the music. With film, you don't always get to create the stories. Sometimes you're just playing a character, and you have to kind of own that character, make him yours, and create the character within the character that you kind of own and kind of build out. And so that's fun in a lot of ways too, and it makes you respect the art of acting. But I'm a creative by heart, and I just feel like I would more or less want to be more like how Mark Wahlberg does his film and his television shows, where he gets to create the vehicles that he's in, and because I know what characters I need to play. Sometimes in Hollywood, a lot of times in Hollywood, it's kind of like fill in rapper's name here type of deal. Like we got a role for a rapper.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think could play him? And they'll give you 10 rappers they think could play the role, and it's just like, I don't want to do that shit. I really feel like I haven't been pushed in acting. I haven't been able to do that role where people, look at it and say, wow, Ja can really act. Like I didn't know he was,
Did you try a lot more projects after that, or did you engage an agent and say, "Get me out there. I want to be up for more roles"?
Plenty of projects. I've done plenty of acting gigs. Just not the ones I want.
Yeah,
it's not the one that I feel like. And like I said, it's the roles that I've done and the roles I feel. It's always felt like insert rapper's name here.
Which is why producing your own is probably
because then I get to tell the stories that I feel are important to the culture. I get to, act in the ones that I feel like is going to showcase my ability the best. And those things are important for me from an artist standpoint. I just don't want to do anything. I don't need to just do anything. I'm fine. And that's what I think people don't understand. When people say, "Oh, you're trying to be relevant," or a person, I don't chase relevancy. I don't give a fuck about that. I don't care. I would just as much, go off into obscurity and make lots of money and relax and do that and be fine doing that. But like I said, I enjoy creating. That's what I do first and foremost. I love to create. And so I'm always gonna pop up and always come back from somewhere and out of what people may think of. I've been gone for a while, retired. Where the fuck you may think wherever I've been, you're always gonna see me pop up here and there because I'm a creative and I'm always creating.
Is there something that's exciting about like maintaining relevancy for so many years? Because I feel like when you do something on social, it blows up on all the blogs. It's on the Shade Room. It's on the Neighborhood Talk.
I don't do nothing small, Josh.
I know you don't. I
do it big.
You do.
When I'm successful. I even failed big with the Fire Festival.
Yeah. Yes.
It's just everything's under a microscope when you are, an artist of my magnitude. So it's fine.
Does it bother you if people come back at you and they go against you?
Because in business, and sometimes you do not always win. Sometimes you fail in business, and that's just the way it goes.
I have to tell you, and this isn't about me, but I've known you for a while. I might not see you as somebody who doesn't know you sees you, who probably sees this huge performer who has this recognizable voice, who is a giant in the hip hop and rap game and is rough around the edges. But I have to tell you, I see all those things, and especially today, but I've known you and we've had how many dinners together with your family, and I've been to your house, and you're also a family man. Yeah, you're a person that loves surrounding yourself with the people that you love. You're a person that checks in and treats the waiters and waitresses at the restaurant beautifully. Yeah. You treat the parking attendant the way you would treat the maybe not this president, but a president, right? There's something about you, and I want people to take that home, because you might say there's a new leaf coming, but I've sort of seen this all along from you, of like, you've always been a person that's been so welcoming and so loving, right? Like
I'm not going to ever let nobody take me out my character, who I am, Josh. I'm as real as they come, even keeled, as real as they come. I don't start trouble with nobody. I don't bother nobody. But we can end it. We can. It's no problem. We can, a lot of people that talk tough, and this is what I tell people. I say this to my wife. I say, babe, I don't think people understand. Most people that talk tough and say a lot of crazy things out of their mouth, they don't have any inkling. They don't have a real, intention of doing any of this shit. See, that's why I try to stay calm, because I'm just the opposite. I want to, if I get to this, I want to hurt and do bad shit. know what I'm saying? I'm very bad temper. And so I try to tell my wife, I say, see, the people that learn to temper themselves and have learned over the years to woosah, it's for a reason. Leave those people the fuck alone. And I keep telling people, just leave me the fuck alone. I'm not bothering nobody. Leave me alone. Because when it escalates, then everybody says, well, why did y'all have to do that? Why did y'all have to do? And I'm like, I try to, once you get me there, you can't tell me how to, you feel what I'm saying? I remember a long time ago, we got into an incident. And it was a bad incident. And people got very hurt, very bad.
Was this public?
It was public.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out what it was.
This probably wasn't the public that you're thinking, but it was public. And then I got calls, from OGs and shit. And it was like, yo, y'all didn't have to do the homie like that. You didn't have to do this or that and the third. And I'm like, so now I'm being told how I'm supposed to react to a situation once it's thrown my way, when I don't start trouble with nobody, I don't bother nobody. See, that's what triggers me. It's the audacity to think that I should be cool or whatever after you've ignited or started the fire. Now you want the fire to be tamed. You want the fire to go out or not spread. It just don't work that way, And that's why I say don't start the fire. Just leave, certain things, leave well enough alone. Like I don't bother nobody. I just stay out of the way, and that's how I like to keep it, And yeah. I think that's better for everybody.
And we're not fucking with any of that this year, anyways.
Listen, I understand that it has to start somewhere in our culture. Like you can't preach this shit and then next week go and slap somebody upside their head or slap somebody in their mouth because they talking crazy. You gotta actually say, I'm gonna practice what I'm preaching right now. Y'all go ahead and talk crazy. Oh yeah, well, it ain't gonna do nothing. I know it ain't gonna do nothing. So whatever, people could talk and say whatever they like. I'm gonna bow out of these, internet back and forth things because it doesn't help our culture in any way. It doesn't forward the culture in any way, and that's just my opinion of it. So I'm on the other side of it. I'm on the side of, let's see what it looks like if we try it a different way. Strength in numbers. We don't backdoor each other in any given moment. Stand for something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really believe, we can be a part of the change that we so seek. But if we keep falling for the same traps over and over and over again, then we get the same results.
Yeah.
And that's insanity. And I just don't want to be a part of it no more. I don't want to be a part of the clownery, the foolery.
A lot of words, a lot of great words.
Yeah, so I'm good, and I'm gonna keep creating and doing great things. Like I said, my Icon Network right now, we're creating a lot of great content. I got some really dope TV shows and some film projects, coming right now. Vibes concert series is coming back, season 2. I'll be doing that out in Vegas. So it's a lot of fun, man. My Laughing It Up series as well will be coming. That's like my reboot of Def Comedy Jam, and I'm just trying to bring some fun, man.
Yeah, some levity
back to the culture, man. There's some laughter, some good times and shit. I think it's too much negativity.
Yeah,
too much negative.
We're surrounded by it.
Too much negative energy.
Yeah.
We need some good energy right now. Yeah.
All right. I love you. Thank you for everything. You're the best. You're always family. You're the best. You're the best. You came by yourself.
I go everywhere by myself.
That's not true.
It's true. Josh, this is how they were able to try to jump me. I was by myself.
Thanks for listening or watching the McBride Rewind. If you like what you heard, subscribe and share this with a friend. If you love what you heard, leave us a review and post us on social media. Tag us at the McBride Rewind on all platforms so we can see it and repost.